Hello, my name is Michael Spaeth, and I am the current planning principal planner for the town of Oro Valley and host of this informational community outreach video. Thank you for tuning in to the very first step in an extended public outreach process. This process has been kicked off in response to a property owner's application for a general plan amendment, rezoning, and master development plan on an approximately 22-acre property located on the southwest corner of Oracle and Hardy Roads. Our goal is to ensure everyone is provided with information regarding upcoming public outreach opportunities, the applicant's proposal, and the next steps. The number one objective is to invite you to participate. The town requires all general plan amendment, rezoning, and development applicants to engage in community outreach at the front end of the process, as it is important to hear your comments and questions early in the process. Does your participation matter? Absolutely. Community input has shaped every development application in Oro Valley. Please help us spread the word about the applicant's proposal and this informational video. Notices have been mailed to neighbors and the site has been posted with yellow signs in multiple locations. If you weren't notified and wish to be in the future, please send us a request with your name and address to ask@orovalleyaz.gov. This video is the first step in the process and is intended to help prepare you for the upcoming neighborhood meeting. Later in this video, we will map out what the anticipated project timeline looks like. It is also important to establish that this request is to develop private property. All property owners have the right to request review of their development proposal. This is not the town's proposal, it is the property owners. It is their charge to create, seek, and justify why town council should approve this proposal. Furthermore, when the town receives a development request, we are required to provide due process. As of today, December 23rd, we do not have a formal submittal from the property owner, but do anticipate one in the near future. A pre-application concept for the site has been provided, and you will hear more about that directly from the property owner's representative, Mr. Brian Underwood, later in this video. Here are the steps we're going to follow in this video. First, I will walk through the public participation process and the anticipated timeline for the project. Second, I will briefly discuss the applicant's proposal and provide key background information about the property and the town's review criteria. Third, I will introduce Mr. Underwood, who is representing the property owner. He will walk us through the what and why of the property owner's site proposal. Additional information has been posted on ovprojects.com, and it will be continually updated as the town receives a formal application. A neighborhood meeting will be held on January 15th at 6 p.m. in the town's council chambers at Town Hall. You can participate in the meeting either in person or online via Zoom. Please visit ovprojects.com for instructions on participating online. The purpose of this meeting will be to have the applicant introduce their project, hear from you, and address any questions, comments, or concerns you may have. You can also provide those via email at any point by sending them to ask@orovalleyaz.gov. Throughout this process, there are a number of additional opportunities for public input. Following a formal submittal, staff will work with the applicant on achieving code compliance. Following code compliance, a second neighborhood meeting will be held before scheduling the case for public hearing. Additional neighborhood meetings may be required as necessary. The applications require consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission at a public hearing. After receiving public testimony, they will vote to provide a formal recommendation to Town Council. The project will then require consideration by Town Council. After Council receives community testimony, they may vote to approve, deny, or continue the application. Now I'd like to orient everyone with respect to the subject property. The property is again approximately 22 acres in size, located on the southwest corner of Oracle and Hardy Roads, outlined here in yellow. The project is due west of the Circle K and Extra Space Storage on Oracle Road, and immediately adjacent to the Rancho Feliz subdivision to the west. The applicant's request involves three applications: a general plan amendment for the area outlined in blue, a rezoning for the same area outlined in blue, and a master development plan for the entire project outlined here in yellow. The purpose of these applications is to enable construction of a mixed-use development as shown in the concept image on the right. I will go into more detail on each of these applications on the next few slides, and the applicant is going to provide additional detail during their presentation. Again, the first item is a general plan amendment. I'd like to start by discussing what is the general plan. The general plan is a long-range policy document the town uses to help drive decision-making. It includes guiding principles, goals, and actions that cover everything the town does, from land use and conservation to fiscal responsibility and town governance. It is updated every 10 years. In fact, the town is currently working on the new general plan known as OV Path Forward. The plan also includes a land use map with land use designations for all property in town that reflects the town's vision. Because the plan is a 10-year plan, it is acknowledged that over its lifespan, amendments to these land use designations might be necessary, and it mandates a very robust public participation process when considering those types of applications. The subject property has 3 land use designations on the general plan: Neighborhood Commercial Office, or NCO, Low Density Residential 1, or LDR1, and Medium Density Residential, or MDR, as you can see in the left-hand map on the screen. The applicant is proposing to amend the Low Density Residential 1 and Medium Density Residential designations to Neighborhood Commercial Office and Medium Density Residential as shown in the right-hand map. To enable the subsequent rezoning in item B, the applicant is required to amend the site's general plan land use designations. The general plan includes specific amendment criteria for evaluating these types of applications. As we move through the process, these are the criteria staff will be using to evaluate the applicant's proposed general plan amendment. That takes us to item B, the rezoning. For those who might be unfamiliar, I'd like to briefly discuss what is zoning. The zoning of a property dictates what a property owner can and can't do on any given property in town. Every property has specific zoning, which includes permitted uses and the development standards for a property, things like maximum building heights, setbacks, and open space requirements, among other things. Zoning districts in town range from large lot residential zoning districts to more intense commercial districts, and even parks and open space. The subject property has an existing zoning designation of R1 144, or large lot residential, that requires a minimum lot size of 144,000 square feet, or approximately 3.3 acres, as you can see in the left-hand map on the screen. The applicant is proposing to amend this district to C1, or commercial, and R4, a townhouse district, as shown in the right-hand image. When an application for rezoning is made, the proposed zoning districts must be in conformance with the underlying general plan land use designations, which is why the general plan amendment is proposed in item A. The development standards for the proposed zoning districts are included in the table at the lower left. When properties of this size are proposed for development, the town requires the applicant to provide a master development plan to ensure the entirety of the site works cohesively for things like vehicular circulation and pedestrian connectivity, among other things. Though the overall project may be developed in phases, the town wants to make sure the ultimate design works holistically. Several key aspects of the proposed concept plan are shown on the screen, and the applicant will provide more detail during their portion of this video. For all 3 associated applications, staff will be utilizing the existing Your Voice, Our Future general plan, as well as all applicable zoning code standards. I've included some of the key review elements on the screen, but there are most certainly others. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Brian Underwood with the Planning Center representing the property. Mr. Underwood?
Greetings. My name is Brian Underwood, and I'm a planner. I'm a principal planner here with the Planning Center. We're a landscape and planning consulting firm here in Tucson. And I wanted to start here with this slide here for our project on Oracle and Hardy, just because it has the date for our upcoming neighborhood meeting on January 15th, and wanted to reiterate what Mr. Spaeth had mentioned, that we will be having an in-person neighborhood meeting at the Town Council chambers on the evening of January 15th at 6 p.m. Next slide, please. So diving into the site here with the project location, I'd just like to take a moment to give a little bit of background about our client who owns this property. They've owned the property for about 12 to 15 years and originally purchased just a small section of it and then subsequently purchased more. And have had, a number of different users that have expressed some interest in the property over the years. None of them have ended up moving forward. Primarily national home builders, from KB Home or AF Sterling, that had the property in escrow at one point in time, but didn't ultimately end up moving forward with development. So now here we are, fast forward 12 to 15 years later, and our client is looking to rezone the property for a mix of commercial and office and residential uses that we'll get into here in a little bit. But overall, the property is about 22.2 acres, of which the area that you see there outlined in pink, we are proposing to rezone, and that area is about 18.5 acres. And if you could go to the next slide, please. So zooming in here a little bit closer to look at the site itself, as you can see outlined in black, there is the area outside of the pink boundary that we're showing as not part of the rezoning. So that's a vacant piece of land that is currently zoned for commercial uses that will be a part of, it's envisioned as a part of the overall development, but it's not going through this rezoning process because it already has that commercial zoning currently. And really, that is sort of a part of the reason why our client is moving forward with the rezoning on the rest of the land is that that small commercial corner, there's been quite a bit of interest from commercial users, a number of different commercial users for that site. However, given the nature of it, the small size of it, some of the constraints with drainage that's coming across it, and open space requirements with the town, that piece of land doesn't lend itself to being developed as a single use. And so a little bit more of the property outlined in pink is necessary for that land to develop, and certainly to create a whole cohesive development there between Hardy and Camino Greenfield. There's a need to rezone, as you'll see here on subsequent slides, and what you heard from Mr. Spaeth with just the split in the existing zoning characteristics on the site. But I won't get into much of the surrounding characteristics other than to just say that we have some single family residences to the west of us. We have some townhomes in the Casitas del Oro Norte to the south of Camino Greenfield. We have the extra space storage to the east there. Additional townhomes and office and commercial development and more residential beyond that. And then obviously we have a mix of uses north of Hardy Road there. So with that, if you could go to the next slide, please. All right, so taking a look at the property's existing zoning again, just wanted to reiterate very quickly that we have that area that's outside of the red dashed line. And that is the property that's currently zoned C1 that will be a part of whatever overall ultimate development comes to fruition here. But it's not included in the rezoning itself. And then the balance of the property outlined in that red dashed line is currently zoned R144. And if you'll go to the next slide, you'll see what we're proposing to rezone that to would be a consistent C1 zoning all across the property's frontage along Oracle Road. And then behind that would be R4 zoning. So that same zoning that exists to the south of Camino Greenfield with the townhouses south of us there. And if you go to the next slide, please. So in terms of the the relationship between the site's existing or the site's zoning and its existing general plan designation. Currently, the site is designated NCO, which is the Neighborhood Commercial Office designation. And it also has a mix of LDR1 and MDR. So those are both a low density residential and a medium density residential designation. And as you can see, that LDR, swath out on Oracle Road is a bit of an anomaly. You see that there's, high density residential, the brown color, mostly the NCO, the neighborhood commercial office, and then you have just this little swath of LDR that touches Oracle Road here. And so our intent, if you switch to the next slide, please, is to again establish that consistency with the rest of the corridor and with the rest of the property that our client owns, and change that designation from the LDR and so the LDR along Oracle Road to the NCO, or the Neighborhood Commercial Office, and really just make the two western parcels back behind that off of Oracle Road, instead of most of them being designated medium density residential or MDR, just make that a consistent designation across the entire and across both of those properties in their entirety. And you'll see here on a couple of subsequent slides, or on one of the subsequent slides, why it's a consistency, a map change, but it's also it's not necessarily something that we can fully utilize or develop that MDR designated land, just because there are some constraints on some of a portion of that land that's designated MDR. And if you could go to the next slide, please. So now diving into our taking a closer look at our site design here, our initial concept for developing the site, you'll see that there's the area that I had mentioned is currently already zoned up here on the northern portion. If you can see where my cursor is, on the northern portion of the property, and that portion is again already zoned for commercial uses. Yet, given the size, given the wash that you can see running through the property, it doesn't lend itself to a complete cohesive design, right? And so a lot of the users that have been attracted to developing here haven't necessarily been able to make their design, their project work on just that small sliver of land. And so that brings us to what we're looking at within the yellow boundary here. And this land is again, it's about 18.5 acres. And what we're proposing is a mix of, it's a commercial center, a mixed use commercial center, with an anchor or a main building that is meant to be reminiscent of the Lux Space Studios that's on Oracle Road. It's currently, and that one's a little bit of it's a little different in the sense that that was an existing office development that was remodeled and now has a number of tenants in there, from snooze to cold beer and cheeseburgers to, a number of office users, and you have a pokey place there, and it's just it's a very, nice looking office development. It was an uplift from the previous office development that was there, a reimagining of that, and uplifting the architecture and really attracting new tenants to that space. And so the idea with this development is to attract a similar mix of tenants. So if you're looking to get an idea of what we're proposing here, it would be perhaps not necessarily exact apples to apples with Lux Space Studios and the uses that they have there, or even where that is located along Oracle Road and the traffic that's in that area. but at least the architecture and the programming of what's there is what we're going for with this development. And so as you can see, there's sort of a mix of retail, retail and restaurant space up along the Oracle Road frontage. And then you have office buildings that are pushed back away from Oracle Road because they don't have, as much of that retail window or appeal. And then what we have, in that medium density residential or that R4 area that is behind the buildings that are proposed along Oracle Road are a number of townhomes there. So these are a mix of sizes of townhomes here. And the idea would be that, this would be housing that could be available for folks that, are working in this area, in this commercial center. It could be, housing for people that are currently seeking to live in Oro Valley but can't find housing because it's limited right now. So this is, opening up those options along a very busy corridor, a very convenient corridor along Oracle Road where folks can get to, a job up in Innovation Park or Honeywell very quickly right there in the town, or hop on Tangerine Road, or shoot down Oracle Road and into Tucson, or if they need to head to the interstate, then that's available too. So yeah, so the idea is to create a very diverse mix of uses here, and a mix of with a strong commercial component that really takes advantage of being located here along Oracle Road. And to dig in a little bit and to give some ideas to why the design is the way it is, the reason why you see kind of the bulk of the square footage of those buildings push back away from Oracle Road is sort of twofold, right? And that's one, as I already mentioned, that the smaller retail restaurant buildings, perhaps with a drive-through even, are located out on Oracle Road. However, what we also have is we have those office buildings in the back because those are going to be less of a presence along the street, more of kind of that campus feel on the interior of the property. Now, the second thing is that what's really governing the design, really strongly for most properties along the Oracle Road, along the Oracle Road corridor, is what's known as the Oracle Road Scenic Corridor Overlay District, or the ORSCOD. And so if you see here, there's a line, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but there's a 300-foot setback line along the Oracle Road corridor. And what that stipulates is that only a certain percentage of the Oracle Road frontage within 300 feet can be occupied by buildings. And so that split is 40-60. And so we can only have along that frontage, if you were looking, I don't know exactly what that distance is, the Oracle Road frontage there, but along that frontage, let's say it's 1,000 feet, then you can only have 400 feet of building area along that frontage. And so that's really within 300 feet of it. And so that's really what's driving a lot of the design. In addition to the limitation on buildings, there's also a limitation on the height of those buildings. And so you'll notice that most of our buildings are proposed to be 1 story, or a maximum height of 18 feet. And any 2-story buildings will be a maximum of 25 feet. And those 2-story buildings, again, are limited to no more than 40% of that frontage along Oracle Road within a depth of 300 feet. And so you might ask yourself, why are those buildings pushed back away from Oracle Road so far. That's the main reason, is there's only so much frontage that we can develop along the scenic corridor there. And you'll also see that there are the two washes. So there's the wash up on the north side that goes through the parcel that's already zoned. And then there's the wash on the southern portion between more or less most of the commercial and the residential portion of the project. And that wash down there is quite significant. And as you can see, what it really causes is quite a bit of preservation that ultimately ends up being set aside as open space up on the north side of the proposed residential development. So nearly, 3/4 of that will remain as open space. That will be the wash coming through there. And with that, I think you can go to the next slide, please. And I'd just like to wrap up with a few key points here, and to reiterate that this is, what we're proposing is, we're proposing to develop a highly accessible commercial center, right, with a diverse mix of uses ranging from shopping and dining, and employment options as well. We could have some office users there that could choose to occupy that space. And along with that, we'd like to, help do our part to chip away at some of the housing crisis that's happening, and also develop something that is realistic for the portion of the property that doesn't sit on Oracle Road. So that portion without a retail window that sits back behind, what's visible from the street from Oracle. We're proposing to develop that with high quality housing. And as I mentioned, we are limiting most of the development to 1 story. So it'll be a mix of 1 and 2 stories, ranging from 18 to 25 feet. And really what that does is help maintain those views of particularly of Push Ridge, the iconic striking mountain views, in most folks' backyards in Oro Valley, and what makes it so special to be a resident there. And we're also adding some pedestrian connectivity to the neighborhood and to the area. So currently, where there aren't sidewalks along Hardy Road and Camino Greenfield, we'll be installing those, and certainly facilitating really great pedestrian access through the site itself, and hopefully having some outdoor plaza space and some gathering space, and nice wide sidewalks, and great connectivity to and from this development, so folks can access it easily from the neighborhood. And along with that scenic corridor comes a lot of preservation of vegetation. So we'll have at least 30 to 100 feet of well, even in some cases more than 100 feet of vegetation along Oracle Road, and in certain cases as well, we'll be going in and supplementing and enhancing that vegetation where perhaps it currently is sparse today. And as I mentioned, as we were looking at the site plan, we do have the 2 wash corridors through the property, and we will be maintaining those to facilitate adequate drainage and movement for wildlife through the site, and certainly through those culverts under Oracle Road. And I would like to just mention briefly that our client is very excited about this development and what the future holds, and it actually has some prior past experience with developing properties in the town of Oro Valley, and actually in this area. So directly across the street and kind of catty corner to the southeast there are the shops at Oracle, and there's a number of users, and tenants currently in that space. But if you want to get an idea for the type of development the type of quality and architecture and a feel for what our client is capable of bringing to the town. That's an example right there in your backyard there in Oro Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. I'd like to conclude by reiterating how to make your voice heard over the course of this process. The town invites all of you to attend the neighborhood meeting on January 15th at Town Hall or online. Again, this is just the first step of the public participation process. Additional information has been posted on obprojects.com, and it will be continually updated as the town receives a formal application and additional information. Please use obprojects.com throughout this process to stay informed. We will continue to notify property owners who received a yellow postcard for the neighborhood meeting and post the property with yellow signs for upcoming events. If you did not receive a postcard and wish to, please reach out via ask@orovalleyaz.gov and provide your name and address, and we'll ensure that you were notified next time. Again, I would like to reiterate, it is important to hear your comments and questions early and often. The extent of community participation is what makes Oro Valley a special place. Community input has shaped every development application in Oro Valley, just as it will on this project. Stay in the know by checking into obprojects.com, and we look forward to you joining us at the neighborhood meeting on January 15th. Thank you.